Battle through the heavens, Grand World. Chapter 202 Practicing. The star-severing mountain range cuts across the entire southern part of the galaxy, which can be considered a dividing line between the central and southern parts. In this land, there was an ancient desert that was tens of thousands of miles long. All kinds of humans were gathered here. Without proper and orderly management, this place eventually became a chaotic heaven, a holy land for criminals. Speaking of which, Black Sand Castle was the only human fort within 1,000 miles. However, in terms of scale, it was far inferior to the Profound Yin Castle, not to mention its strength. As the castle master, Su Chong was merely a monarch emperor level. In the Profound Yin Castle, although the castle master wasn't Yin Jushuan, the latter's power was far higher than the so-called castle master of the Profound Yin Castle, and he controlled everything in the Profound Yin Castle. Xiao Yan didn't think too much about the changes in the structure of the Black Sand Castle after losing a few top combat strength. In this chaotic region, nothing could last for a long time. What this place lacked the most was death and ruin. According to the map he bought in the Black Sand Castle, the Profound Yin Castle was quite a distance away from the Black Sand Castle. The first thing to walk forward for a few days was the Northern Forest Castle controlled by Chen Rong, and then Profound Yin Castle. After making up his mind, Xiao Yan did not delay any longer. After a short rest, he set off in the direction of the Northern Forest Fort. Time was of the essence, and he did not dare to delay any longer. Besides, Xiao Yan had already made up his mind. Xiao Yan was extremely interested in cultivating the Four-Spirit Emperor technique in the next few days. Although it was only a high-grade monarch spell, its power couldn't be underestimated. Yellow sand filled the sky and thousands of miles of the Crimson Desert. The scarlet-red mountain range was endless, like a huge dragon that was lying on the ground for thousands of miles, bringing with it the majestic feeling of the lone desert smoke. Due to the rest of the Xiaoaos, Xiao Yan was only traveling alone. The dangers he encountered along the way were secondary. After all, there were very few people here, only a few spirit beasts. Compared to the savage spirit beasts, humans were the most terrifying existences. Without the presence of humans, the dangers of this place would be greatly reduced. Other than the dangers one might encounter outside one's body, the most painful thing was the loneliness in one's heart. Walking in the desert, he accompanied the yellow sand every day. There were a few times when Xiao Yan's tough heart was slightly shaken. This place was much more lonely than the forest domain. He raised his head and looked over. There were only mountain rocks standing all around, and the branches and leaves of the extremely rare ancient trees were badly damaged. Under the illumination of the setting sun, the black corrosive crow fell down. Its eyes seemed to be flickering with a ghostly fire as it looked at Xiao Yan, who was walking alone in the desert. It let out a horrified cry, adding to its terror. Although the Xiaoao had transformed into a human form, because he had eaten the eggshell fragment, every time he ate it, it would solidify some of the floating origin monarch ki within his body. However, the result was that he was unable to control his fatigue. Most of the time, he would hide within Xiao Yan's body and rest. Based on the interactions between him and the Xiaoao over the past few days, Xiao Yan had a rough idea of the reason why the strength of the Xiaoao had soared. Previously, the Spirit of Heart Flame had killed Mu Lin and a few other large Monarch Emperor-level experts in a row and obtained their respective Origin Monarch crystals. The Origin Monarch crystals contained the Origin Monarch ki that they had cultivated for their entire lives. Naturally, the energy contained within them was enormous. After the Spirit of Heart Flame entered the Xiaoao's body, it was a matter of life and death, and by chance, it ignited the bloodline within the Xiaoao's body. Following the eruption of the bloodline power, the true form of the Spirit of Heart Flame was completely devoured. As for the few Origin Monarch crystals in the latter's body, they were naturally accepted by the Xiaoao. The eggshell that was formed after the Xiaoao was formed from the Origin Monarch ki. Due to the enormous energy, it far exceeded the energy required for the Xiaoao to evolve. The rest of the Origin Monarch ki were transformed into eggshells under the influence of the Dragon ki. This also explained the reason why the Xiaoao's strength would increase after eating the eggshells. After being catalyzed by the Dragon ki, the energy contained within the eggshells was not inferior to any 5th-ranked medicine pill. After knowing the reason why the Xiaoao's strength had increased, Xiao Yan smiled and felt delighted in his heart. The former's strength had already reached the monarch emperor level, which was good news for him. During this trip to the profound Yin castle, he would need the help of the Xiaoao. There were very few people in the world, although each castle had a mercenary group that lived by hunting spirit beasts. Compared to such a desolate place, people tended to be more inclined towards the deep mountains and valleys. At dusk, he hid in a naturally formed stone cave. When a violent sandstorm swept past, Xiao Yan heaved a sigh of relief. After walking for a few days continuously, he had become extremely nervous. Now, he could finally have a good rest. Ha ha. A clear laughter sounded from outside the cave. Xiao Yan did not need to look to know that it was the Xiaoao. Although this fellow seldom woke up, he would still play around every time he woke up. Just as the violent sandstorm swept over, the Xiaoao happily rushed out and played in the sandstorm. At this moment, the large clothes on the Xiaoao's body were in tatters. However, the former did not care at all. In his heart, the concept of clothes was extremely vague. This kind of extremely naive heart also caused Xiao Yan to be quite speechless. Seeing that the Xiaoao didn't have any thoughts of eating the egg shell, Xiao Yan rested for a while. With a flick of his finger, the Four-Spirit Emperor technique scroll appeared in his hand. Those who participated in the Profound Yin sect's auction were all famous experts. He wanted to take it back in such an occasion. The growth of his strength was essential, but now, the fastest way to improve his strength was the monarch skill, the Four-Spirit Emperor technique. This was the most appropriate monarch skill. He gently opened the scroll. The images of the four spirits were vivid and lifelike. In his trance, he could hear the roars of dragons, the cries of birds, and the cries of turtles. The wind and thunder mixed within seemed to resonate with the origin monarch key. When the Xiaoao saw Xiao Yan's actions, it stopped curiously. It moved closer to Xiao Yan and looked at the images in the scroll once again. Its big eyes, which were flickering with spirit light, once again flashed with a lost luster. He slowly immersed his soul energy into the four-colored scroll in his hand. In an instant, four extremely large soul information surged into Xiao Yan's head like a tsunami. The latter's head buzzed at this moment and seemed to be about to explode. The Xiaoao looked at Xiao Yan's somewhat uncomfortable face. Its small face pouted. He looked at Xiao Yan as if he was looking at an idiot. Could it be that this guy doesn't know that the monarch skill that has an image engraved on it should be? Observe the images one by one. Under the disdainful gaze of the Xiaoao, Xiao Yan's expression gradually returned to normal. However, his tightly shut eyes still didn't open. He was completely immersed in it as he carefully observed the huge information that came from the four pictures. There were four spirits in the ancient times, and their power shook the heavens and earth. Although it has been hundreds of millions of years, its spirit has existed forever. The loud sound of a yellow bell echoed continuously in Xiao Yan's mind. The four spirits' appearances gradually appeared, and their expressions varied. They were full of power, as if they were going to pierce through the heavens and shatter the universe. As Xiao Yan closed his eyes to observe, the Xiaoao's gaze when looking at the scroll also gradually solidified. Its small face was filled with seriousness. It took a long time before it giggled and looked at Xiao Yan. It pouted and did not speak. It quietly waited for Xiao Yan to open his eyes. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.